Hi guys, it's been a while since I've done a video, so I do apologise for that. But we have been very busy putting together a sustainable vegetable garden here in our local towns of Albury-Wodonga, situated on the borders of New South Wales and Victoria. But more about that later, we'll be doing a video on that. We are only a couple of weeks out of Christmas and I've been asked by a good friend of mine, Carol, to make a Christmas pudding. She supplied me with the recipe, so I hope I can do justice for you, Carol. Let's get into it. So it's important that we have all of our ingredients lined up as we need them. I'll be going through them properly for you as we mix everything up together, and the descriptions will be down below. So to begin with, it's important that you really look at the ingredients in the mixed fruit if you buy them like that. This has got sultanas, apricots, peaches, apples and pears in it. Good little mixture. We have pitted dates that I've cut up a little bit. We'll put them in there. We also have, that's 125 grams, 125 grams of raisins. We put them in there. I'll get them out the way because we don't need that anymore. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to mix them with my hands. They have been washed, so they're nice and clean. With that done, we'll set that aside. And just like magic, we have our pot. I'll take the lid off. We'll be using that a bit later on. What we do with the mixed fruit, actually what I'll do first, is add a bit of water, around about a cup. So that's about half of that. Grab our fruit. Grab our fork and place our butter. It would have helped if I had this at room temperature a bit, but anyway, it is what it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this to medium, low to medium. We don't want it too hot. We're going to keep that there until all this melts, all the butter melts. While we wait for that to happen, we'll add half a cup of white sugar, half a cup of brown sugar, been sitting in the glass for a little while, so it's gone a little bit dry, but we'll spread that around. Teaspoon of salt. What we need is a spatula, and we'll just start mixing that in. It's always a good idea to keep stirring because we don't want this to get burnt. And the whole idea is, I think that's all the ingredients we're going to put in here for the time being. What we're going to do is, once the butter is melted, we're going to simmer what we've got here for 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, we'll turn off the heat, add the carbonate soda, and let it sit there for overnight. What this will do is allow all these ingredients to merge in together and increase the flavour, and hopefully it will taste all right. Ideally, we should be doing this about 4 or 5 weeks before Christmas to allow the Christmas pudding to mature, I suppose you could call it. Get all the flavours in, the whole lot. Let the rum or the whiskey or the port, whatever you're using for alcohol, do its stuff. But of course, I'm so organised, I'm just a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to Christmas, but this will be okay. It'll taste good. Okay, we're just waiting for the butter to melt, which it has, and we're just going to let this simmer for about 8 minutes. The juices from the fruit has mingled in with the water and it's getting very syrupy. and that's what we're after. We're getting very close to the 8-minute mark. Doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I think that'll do us nicely. It's exactly how we want it. So we're going to put our bicarbonate soda in, and we'll give that a really good mix. Now see how it's frothing up? A good sign that it's doing its work. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to switch this off now, set that aside. Put the lid on. In fact, I'm just going to put the board down, place the pot on top of that, and just allow that to cool down overnight or for at least 12 hours. Let this cool down. I think we'll call it a night and we'll start again tomorrow morning. So our fruit mixture here has had the opportunity to rest overnight, and you can see just how sticky it is. Very syrupy, and we'll just give it a little bit of a taste. Very sweet, very strong, and that's what we're after. So the next thing we've got to do is beat up 3 eggs. Doesn't have to be perfect, just a good mixture. How can you tell if your eggs are fresh? Just stick them in a pot of water. If they sink, they're okay. If they float, chuck them out. Simple as that. Room temperature is really important for all the ingredients, everything. The next thing is your alcohol. This is Sailor's Jerry, made in Scotland, and if it's good enough for the Scots, it's good enough for me. What we're going to do is we're going to pour a glass or thereabouts, around about 1/4 cup into the egg mixture. Pour that in. We'll keep the fork because we might need that later. Get rid of the plate. A wooden spoon, and we mix that all in. Yeah, so port, rum, whiskey. Some actually put stout in, mixed up with their rum or whatever. The stout will allow your pudding to get a little bit darker, if that's what you prefer. If you are after a dark Christmas pudding, you could replace maybe half of your brown sugar with molasses, around about 3, maybe 4 tablespoons of molasses, and that will give you your dark feature. I'm just going with the flow. Brown sugar will do the job, maybe not as dark as what some people might like it, but that's looking pretty good. I'll just place that there because I'll need that again. We'll keep the rum for later because we will have to add some more to it eventually. 1 cup of plain flour, and we sift that. The reason why we sift it is simply because it lightens up the texture of the Christmas pudding. Self-raising flour, mix that in really well. We'll have to get a dry spoon for that. Mix that in. Now a lot of people will say, hey, you shouldn't put self-raising flour with your Christmas pudding. It's not a cake, you don't want it to rise, but the recipe says plain flour or all-purpose flour, depending on where you live. and self-raising flour. The most important thing here is this recipe does not have breadcrumbs. And the breadcrumbs are basically used to lighten up the Christmas cake or pudding or whatever you're making. And we're eliminating that from this recipe. And now we're just going to add a little bit into it at a time. Mix it in really well. Get it off the sides. Just a tad more rum. We've got some nuts here. I should have done that a bit earlier. Now this is not in the recipe, but I like a bit of nut in my Christmas pudding. Okay, well I reckon we're just about done. We have our, well that smells like cinnamon. And this is mixed spices. Throw them in. Mix that all up. Now it's pretty sticky, but I reckon we're there. Just a little bit more. That's the flavour. That feels much better. It's got the squashy, squishy sound. Alright, done. And that completes our second stage of our Christmas pudding. Next, we put it into our steamer. And there we go. We'll take the lid off and we just slowly but surely fill this up. As you can see, I'm a really expert at this. Flatten it out a bit, press down, get rid of the air bubbles. Okay, we'll just flatten that out, smooth it out as much as we can. I think that'll do. Now we've got our lid, we place our lid on top, and just like that we have this big pot. Take the lid off, I get a plate or something similar, place that on the bottom of the pot. Well, that went well. There was a crack in the plate, but it still will do the job. So we put boiling water in. We then get our pudding and we place that on top of the cracked plate. So we put the lid on, we let that boil for 4 hours. Every half hour or so I'll keep checking the water level and topping it up with boiling water from the jug. And Bob's your uncle. Keep your heat around about medium or thereabouts, just enough to simmer the water. Let it bubble a little bit, don't want to overdo it. And we'll see how it all turns out. So it's been roughly 4 hours. I've allowed the pot to cool down a little bit. We'll take out our pot. Okay, so I got rid of the pot of water. Here is our pudding. It's not looking too bad. It's nice and soft, it's definitely cooked. Just checking the handles to make sure it's not too hot. I've allowed it to cool down a little bit. What we're going to do is we're just going to turn this upside down, out it comes, and that's looking pretty good to me. We've got a skewer, and what I'm doing, I'm just going right down to the bottom, just placing holes all over the place, in the sides. I think that must probably be enough. It's a holy Christmas pudding. Okay, grab our brush, soak it in, and we just cover it with our rum. Boy, I can smell that rum. I think that's going to have to do. Well guys, that's it. That's our Christmas pudding. Thanks very much to Carol for the recipe. This is going to our friend's place on Christmas Day. We alternate Christmas each year. It's their turn this year, thank God. And, well, the pudding's going to be missing one piece, isn't it? Because I'm dying to try this out. Bit of ice cream, custard, beautiful. Merry Christmas, everybody.